I use tools like cold plunging, exposing myself to sunlight, turning on music that lights me up, making sure I've had enough caffeine. There are so many tools that we can use to help get us out of that mindset if it's uncomfortable to sit in it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I think it's okay to sometimes not feel okay. I don't think you have to walk around being like, I love my body and feel so good about it today, every second of every day. What do you think?
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I also think that we owe it to ourselves to always be the best version of ourselves, whatever that is in the moment. Before we start this episode, I wanted to take a moment and thank one of the sponsors of the show, and that is Thesis. I will tell you, recently I gave my first TEDx talk. I had very limited time to prepare for it, and that was 2 weeks while working. And obviously, I'm a mom and I have a full concierge clinic. I needed a game-changing supplement. And what I found was that Thesis really, really helped me focus. I found it to be game-changing for my productivity. I used Clarity. I believe that these supplements really helped me nail my TEDx. I was very dialed in. I love Thesis. It's the world's first customized nootropic company. Nootropics are nutrients, they're found in nature or the human body that enhance cognitive function like focus, energy, or mood, all of which I really needed during this TEDx talk. I was really grateful that I had this on board. Again, I was using Clarity. And for my listeners, Thesis has so graciously offered 10% off your first box. Thesis has multiple products. You'll take a quiz. You'll see what's going to be best for you. You can get 10% off on a Thesis starter kit. Just go online to takethesis.com/Dr. Lyon. Take the quiz, use the code Dr. Lyon at checkout. I guarantee you will love this product, and it will also be a game changer for you. Liz Plosser, editor-in-chief of Women's Health magazine. This is no small feat, and you are in a very unique role as a leader, a female leader, and you have a huge responsibility. Women's Health magazine, I was just looking when it started, and I want to hear all about how it started. It had 400,000 in circulation, and now you're up to easily 1.5 million.
Yeah.
No small task.
Well, it is so awesome to be here with you. Thank you, Gabrielle, for having me. And it is the best job in the world. It is a huge honor and a huge responsibility. In addition to the circulation you mentioned, we have grown since our founding to be on every platform. So social, video, live events. So we reach now more than 40 million women every single month.
No pressure. No pressure. How did you get to be in the position that you're in?
Well, I have always been obsessed with fitness, health, and nutrition. Even as a kid, I was really into those topics. It took me a minute to figure out that you could do something in your career that you are personally passionate about. My first job out of college, I did the responsible thing. I actually was an investment banking analyst for 2 years, on track to be promoted and have a big career there. I'm pretty good. I'm into economics and business, always going well, but my soul was not in it. I was not lit up by that. And I'm actually so grateful that that happened when I was very young, because it was really the catalyst for me to think hard about where do I want to go, what do I want to do next, and to talk to people about their careers. And it was like a lightning bulb moment when I realized there are people working at magazines writing about topics that they are super interested in and curious about. It took a little bit to get in the door because I didn't have the background. I was an English major, but I didn't have, the internships and pedigrees that you needed. But through a series of miraculous events and stars aligning, I started as an editorial assistant at Self magazine. And I was in the fitness department. And it felt like a huge leap. I was so young, so I had nothing to lose. But even then, it was a huge salary pay cut. And I was so terrified. What if I don't love it? But I did. I loved it from the moment I started every single day. And I've been zigzagging ever since, continuing to work in this space. I took a little detour to Chicago while my husband was in graduate school, but kept writing a lot of freelance articles for brands I loved, like Women's Health. When I came back to New York, I worked at Cosmo. We were rebuilding the entire brand under Joanna Coles, and she wanted to rebuild health from the ground up. So I came on to do that, which was so amazing to be at such an iconic brand, but to have such a startup energy. I went back to Self to be deputy editor. I left actually editorial to go work on the brand side at SoulCycle, where I oversaw content and digital strategy. So I got to see really the business side and how words equate to making money, which I continue to be fascinated by. But I really missed the pureness of editorial. And so I came back. I oversaw a team as Senior Vice President of Content at Well+Good, the digital health and lifestyle brand. And then Hearst called me when they were looking for a leadership change at Women's Health. So, gosh, I think it's this week I'll be celebrating 5 years at the helm of Women's Health. The brand I still remember when Women's Health showed up on newsstands. I still have the copies, Gabrielle. They're sitting in my office at home.
And was that 2004, 2007?
Yeah, that's right. The brand is almost 20 years old. We're 19. So yeah, 2024, we celebrate 20 years. And I hung on every word. I devoured it. So it's pretty amazing to be where I am and to think how much love I've had for this brand and this space for so long, and that I get to wake up and do this every day.
Did you ever think you would be where you are now? That's a yes.
Well, no, I'm laughing because when I was an investment banker and didn't know what to do with myself and had all this energy and agita, I signed up for my first marathon. I think I missed team sports a lot and I was just lost. And I did it with Team in Training, where it's kind of like a group of strangers who meet up in Central Park and train for a marathon together. And it was through these long runs with people that I just got to know over the miles, all different ages, all different careers, backgrounds, ethnicities, body types, everything. I became such good friends with them and learned the power of connection over sweat. And it was literally on one of those runs that I articulated out loud, guys, I had a dream last night that I was the editor-in-chief of a health brand. And they were like, Liz, maybe that's your pivot from banking. Why don't you learn more about that? Hey, I know somebody, you can call my friend. So did I ever think I would be here? No. But did I literally dream of being here? Yes.
Maybe it paved the way.
Maybe it was manifesting it in some way and saying it out loud.
And working really hard.
And
probably having some talent and a lot of grit and resilience.
I think I will cop to having all of those things, and also to surrounding myself and being really fortunate and having the great privilege that many women who were very smart took me under their wing and gave me real talk when I needed it and encouraged me when I needed it and created a safe place where I could ask them questions and come for help and advice. And I've nurtured those relationships throughout my career. And I couldn't be here without those women who have lifted me up all along the way.
That's something that I've always noticed about you. And we've known each other not that long, but one of the things that's always stood out is you're very collaborative. I think it's a core value of yours, and you're very interested in the team. We work out with Lauren, and then there's Abby.
Yeah.
It's really amazing to see a woman that is in this leadership role. You are responsible for a lot. And especially now with the way that media is, probably more so now than even 20 years ago when the magazine started. People look to the magazine and social media for knowledge.
Yeah.
Whether that knowledge is accurate and whether that knowledge is meeting a certain outcome. But what you say, what you approve, and what you do really filters down to everybody.
Yes, it is a huge Herculean responsibility. We are at our core a science-based, expert-based brand. That's really our competitive advantage and something that is a founding principle of women's health and that we take so super duper seriously and has been crucial to women's health since its founding. But for all of the reasons you said and all of the sources of information and misinformation and fads and trends that you can find, where whatever social platform you're on digitally, I mean, it's just everywhere. And we are really proud of the fact that all of our work really walks the walk. We've talked to the experts, we've looked at the studies, we know what the latest research is, and we're telling it like it is. To your point about collaboration, it is indeed one of my core values. Perhaps developed from growing up playing sports. I just know the magic of when a team gels and, it gets in the flow and the zone together. And that is probably what I most hope to create at Women's Health. Hire really smart people who are really passionate about what they do and then let them be awesome at their jobs. I don't want to get in their way. I sometimes think about my job as editor-in-chief and leader. It's funny. I often say to the editors, no matter, if they're the most junior person on the team or Abby, our executive editor, who we both absolutely adore, that I'm so lucky to be your teammate. It's, to me, we're all on the same team. Obviously we're all on the same team, but that's the point. Of course, there's hierarchy for workflow reasons, but at the end of the day, great ideas come from everywhere. And I want to nurture that safety that everybody feels empowered to speak and say what they're thinking out loud. And it's almost like I'm the captain of the soccer team,
Did you play soccer?
I did play soccer growing up. And I was the captain of the soccer team in high school.
No surprise.
But, that, each player has their amazing strengths and they also have weaknesses that they're working on. And it's my job to help them find those weaknesses and get better at them, and also to encourage their strengths and let those really shine and dazzle. And I am incredibly fortunate to have an amazing leadership team at Women's Health. I mean, everybody kind of has that mentality. If you look at our team goals for the year, nurturing junior editors and helping them succeed and feel fulfilled professionally and even personally is at the tip top of our lists. So it's truly a dream team. I'm so proud of each of them. I kind of sit in awe of the amazing people that we've assembled every single day.
And what is the role of editor-in-chief?
Well,
by the way,
yes.
There's not that many editors-in-chief across the spectrum of, health magazines. There's only a handful.
Yeah, this is true. We are one of the last brands standing, certainly, that has a print presence that's doing really well, thankfully, and that readers look forward to every single month. And I still love that paper product and, tangible reminder of who we are and what we do and seeing it all over the world on newsstands. My role is to steer the brand across all of our platforms and to look out for the health of the brand, its editorial integrity, and of course to support its financial health as well. So I work really closely with the business side, thinking about those opportunities. I am the person who greenlights every story. We have an awesome team of leaders who are working with the editors on their pitches for each platform throughout the month. But we have meetings where we all talk about the ideas and brainstorm together in real life. And I get to give feedback and, share what I've experienced or seen. And I will sidetrack for a second to say that I personally believe, and I don't know if every person in my position does, but that a huge part of my job is living and breathing this health, fitness, nutrition, mental health, emotional health myself, and being curious about it in my own life. And that means, yes, going to the gym and working out. I actually consider that essential to my job. It means exploring new recipes and talking to nutritionists. It means reading the latest studies, listening to podcasts, texting with people like you and making sure that you're telling me when you see something interesting or a story that's missing, so that I am on top of it and like, feeling the pulse of what's happening in this space, and not coming into these meetings and leading the brand from a place of not being engaged or interested. Luckily, as you can tell, I'm very exuberant and enthusiastic about all of these topics, and I have been for a long time. So this comes quite naturally to me. But, it takes work, as you know, to be out there and to meet with people and to stay up on all the science and trends. So now back to my job. So there's that, greenlighting of the story ideas, working with editors to develop bigger features, thinking about big brand goals and big swings we want to take throughout the year. I read every single piece of content we produce. I don't read every digital story before it goes live or every social media post before it goes live. We're a huge brand, publishing a very high volume of content. And like I said, I trust people to be awesome at their jobs. But I am reading it, once a big piece of what I do is going through all the content throughout the week, and delivering notes, but trying to be very mindful of, does this need to be said? Is this essential? And that's something as a leader that I have constantly been honing over the years, and much better at. I think a confidence in my skill set is not stepping in for the sake of justifying my existence as editor-in-chief.
I was thinking about this. You've been there for 5 years and you greenlight all the stories. When you first started, did you second guess yourself in terms of, oh my gosh, I'm going to greenlight this story? Because social media, print, everything is very, I don't want to say tumultuous, but it is. It can be violent, verbally violent. There is a lot of canceling. There is also a lot of confusion and disagreement, which has exponentially grown in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever talked about this, but my first year on the job, I lived in like constant terror. I don't think I slept very much. I was so afraid of making a misstep and offending somebody. It was probably, to be honest, a healthy fear, because like we were saying, this is a big job and a big brand, and people are taking action in their lives based on what we're saying. So it's important. Words really do matter. The stories we tell, they really do matter. Thankfully, that has gotten better over time. I think it was a mixture of just, as qualified as what I was for this role. I had the experience. And as much as I love this brand, I struggled with imposter syndrome. I worried that they'd made a mistake and hired the wrong person and I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I lived in fear of, what if I let these people in this brand down? I couldn't bear the thought of it not succeeding under my watch. And I still continue to feel that way. Of course, I want it to succeed and to soar. But now I've put my energy into that rather than the worrying and the anxiety and the second guessing. Not to say that I still don't have nights where I toss and turn, especially when we're approaching topics that can be extra sensitive in this day and age. And there are many of them. I know we talked about a few, and what can happen on social media if you use the wrong word, or if what you're saying doesn't resonate with somebody, and how those things can pick up momentum and become a moment. And I always want to protect the brand from that and to have it seen in the best possible light, and to have our true intentions and high standards and integrity and inclusivity and love for women and supporting women to always be, what people think of when they think of women's health. But it's hard, and we all make mistakes. And I think I have more grace for myself now. I can honestly say that it took about a year to feel like I had my sea legs. And the confidence is growing ever since. I still have a healthy anxiety, which keeps me sharp and keeps me meticulous and thoughtful working with the team on our visuals and our words. But I also have a strength and a conviction in what we're doing and who we are and how we're telling stories now that it took me a minute to come into.
That's really important. I think with excellence and mastery, it's a process.
Yeah.
And you really exemplify that beautifully. When you started, were there things that started coming across your desk that, because you've been so fit your whole life, you've been very fit, very into fitness, and we're going to talk a little bit about your fitness journey because I think it's changed a bit from marathons because, I've seen you swing those kettlebells. Have you found that things were coming across your desk that were different than you experienced? For example, that there may have been a movement or there may have been a lot of information that you kept seeing repeated, because we know oftentimes when things are repeated, people will take that as truth. But from your experience, you were questioning it, that perhaps it wasn't accurate and maybe something was missing and didn't know how to navigate. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, and that still happens now. That was one of my mandates for myself and for the team when I started is, yes, we're a magazine that's been around at that time for about 15 years. Yes, that is what we are, but we are not going to fall into the old patterns of, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way because I was, professionally raised in this world, but of women's magazine speak. I mean, I freelanced probably, hundreds of thousands of words and worked at some of these brands. So I know what that language is like and sort of the tropes that we relied upon. And that didn't mean that the topics or things that we were exploring as a health brand were necessarily different, but we were going to flip how we talked about it, to give our readers credit for where they were. To say, you are awesome right now, but if you want to work on some things and think you'd feel better, healthier, or happier, and this could apply to their mental health, their nutrition, what they're doing at the gym, socially, then we're going to give you science-backed tools that you can try in your own life, actions you can take and see what resonates. But we're never going to cut you down and make you feel like you're unworthy or less than or broken. And now here's the tools to fix you. And I don't mean to suggest that that was how women's health talked to women for many years. But I think if you are a careful reader and, maybe this change would go unnoticed, which is fine too, that there was a subtle shift in our language and how we were talking to people. When I started at Women's Health, my predecessor had recently eliminated all bikini body cover lines, which I thought was awesome. And I'm sure you remember the days of, 2 weeks to a bikini body and the 10-day bikini slim down. And you don't even need the word bikini in it. You know the type of headline and cover line I'm talking about. We have never, we grabbed that baton from her and sprinted into the future with it. And Abby and I, who work on cover lines together every month, sometimes with other team members, we have so much fun coming up with those. And what empowered language are we going to use this month that truly reflects the content that's in the magazine, but gives you credit for where you are right now and for your potential and where you want to go.
I'm super grateful for Element for sponsoring this episode of the Dr. Gabrielle Lyon Show. It is spelled LMNT and pronounced Element. I love Element, and if you were watching any of my Instagram stories, you will know that my husband is getting ready to run the Boston Marathon. And yes, he is spiking his water with Element, and he is swearing by it. He feels that he's able to run longer and faster and not get cramps, and I totally believe him. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink. He's really been into raspberry salt, which, by the way, I love. It is a science-backed electrolyte drink. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. It doesn't have any junk in it, no coloring, and nothing artificial. It is formulated to help anybody with their electrolyte needs. So that could be for nutritional reasons. Maybe you're on a keto diet, low carb, paleo, or who knows, maybe you're getting ready to run a marathon. Element is amazing and is offering my listeners an 8 single serving pack free with any Element order. Head on over to Drink Element, that's drinklmnt.com/Dr. Lyon. they offer a no questions asked refund. I know that you guys will absolutely love this product. Head on over to Element, check them out, and I'd love to hear your feedback.
There's a lot of wisdom in that. That way it doesn't alienate everybody. When things started coming across your desk, initially, I think 5 years ago, people were really into cardio. Not that cardio is bad, but did you see an evolution? And again, the name Women's Health is you guys are providing tools and things. Was there a moment perhaps before it was coming out in the magazine where you were thinking, okay, I realize that strength probably plays a bigger role than we're giving it credit for, or that just in general, industry is giving it credit for, things of that nature?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to give Women's Health a lot of credit because they have been on the strength bandwagon from the get-go. I actually remember the first feature I wrote for Women's Health back when I was living in Chicago. I pitched Jenny Everett, who was the fitness director at the time, a story about strength versus cardio. And I still have some of the art from that piece hanging on the wall in my office because I found it when we were moving offices, which is kind of a cool little meta moment. And it's actually fascinating to think back to little Liz in her 20s writing that story and where I am now. Even though I was writing it and doing all the research, it still took a lot longer to like really, truly click for me. But I do think, we have understood for a long time, and even though the tide is turning, even today in 2023, we need to constantly tell women it's cool to lift. I was a cardio rat. Like, I thought running miles was the best express way to get endorphins, the best way to be fit, to fit in my jeans, to feel empowered and exhilarated and clear-headed. And I still love to run. I love being outside. I love doing sprints on the treadmill. But I now understand all the articles we were writing and people like you who've been singing the praises of strength training. And so I'll share a little sneak peek for you. And I often test things out on my personal Instagram that we're talking about as a team and considering running with in the magazine and digitally. But we're going to do a story all about bulking and hypertrophy.
Amazing.
And, I was playing with this idea again in just a Liz Instagram caption. This idea that for so many years, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, I myself was one of the people who was like, okay, we can only say tone and sculpt on the cover. We can't freak people out. Using a word muscle, that's going to be too much. It's going to sound too like masculine energy, and we don't want to, alienate our readership, and they're going to think we're turning into like a bodybuilding magazine. And now, this is probably from my own personal epiphany and experience with lifting heavier and kind of flip-flopping the balance in my personal life of how much I'm running versus how much time I'm spending in the weight room. I am on a mission to share the magic of strength training and picking up heavier weights and making yourself uncomfortable in the gym. And so again, it's not like we haven't been saying it for so long, but I suspect you'll notice a difference in how we say it in the months going forward. And I'm not the only team member who's had this evolution. And I am actually like so excited because I believe it's happening for women across the world. I'm seeing a difference even in social media and the messages I get and how our readership responds to it. So we did what we call a test balloon with a story about hypertrophy digitally. And it's one of our best performing fitness stories. So there's interest. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Where do you think the trends are going now in general? Because you have to keep your finger on the pulse of all trends.
Wow. Well, where should we start? Fitness, health, mental health?
Well, I think mental health is really interesting because you and we talked, and I did a little article for
I love that.
For Women's Health, and it was different than the common narrative or the common paradigm of thinking about self-care.
Yes. So that was our big self-care package last year. Thank you for noticing that. And I think that reflects what I was trying to get at a few minutes ago about not relying on sort of the established language and how brands and people talk about topics. That we are women's health, we are trailblazers, we are science-backed, we are modern, we are cool, we are good vibes, good energy, and that's what we try to inject in every story. And so when we approach the topic of self-care, it was really important to us to come to it from a new place, that it's, I think we even said on the cover, this is not about bubble baths. And I loved your piece so much. I think I shouted it out on Instagram, probably. I loved all of the women who contributed to that package. It was really a package that assembled luminaries in the health and wellness space and invited them to give their perspectives on what self-care means. And everybody had a really different take, and none of them are about bubble baths. And what was awesome about yours, and I literally think about this some mornings when I am like, thinking about pouring a bowl of cereal instead of mixing my eggs, or when I'm like, I am not feeling it at the gym, but I know how good I'm going to feel and how much better I'm going to be at my job that day for having sweat. Do you want to remind people it was all about discipline?
Yeah. That ultimately discipline is the highest form of self-care.
Yeah. And you have a motto too when things get tough and stressful.
Go after it.
Like, what was it? We'll have to. We'll find it.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll link it. In terms of physical health, what are you seeing in terms of trends for physical health over how long? Well, first of all, how do you guys even keep your finger on the pulse of all these things that are happening?
So again, I have to give credit to my awesome team because much like me, they are passionate about this space. And it's not like a prerequisite that you love to run or lift kettlebells. You don't have to be obsessed with fitness to work at Women's Health, though many of us really do love to work out varying modalities. But everyone has their thing that they're really interested in and passionate about. Some of the editors are super into travel and healthy travel. Some are really into mental and emotional health. Others love cooking and nutrition and those trends. So, we are organized by teams. We have sort of super powered people who are like obsessively exploring the space they're in. But also the editors are out living and breathing this every day, absorbing, following people on social, looking for trends, going to press events, moving about the world. And thank goodness we can do that again, because during the pandemic, it was, I would say, very challenging. There was a lot of looking to social media because we were all, locked down or not really out and about much to see how people were thinking and feeling. And I would say not just the posts, but even engaging and monitoring the comments for how people were reacting to things. And so that's how we were surfacing content ideas for a time. Now we're back out in the world. It's so awesome to be here in person with you. And so they're seeing and experiencing all of the trends. And I would argue, I want you to close your laptop at the end of the day and unplug and get that work-life balance. But part of their closing of the laptop is like, oh, I'm so excited to go check out this new workout class, or, oh, there so-and-so is in town speaking about self-care or menopause, and I really want to hear that panel. So that's we're all just running around, listening, absorbing, being curious, asking questions, and then coming back and talking about it together to workshop that.
What do you think in terms of fitness space? So you were originally, before you got to Women's Health, you were at SoulCycle. You did a lot there. There's been a lot of boutique style fitness stuff popping up. Do you think that is going to be in the next wave, or are people going to kind of go back to old school heavy lifting, hypertrophy training?
I love this question. I'm so curious. I wrote a piece during the pandemic. It has not been published, but I still have it at home, about my prediction. There were so many stories of the gym is dead, boutique studios are dead, no one's ever going to go back, it's home workouts forever. And of course, digital workouts were already exploding. And then the pandemic took that to the next level. Everybody had to pivot in order to make their livelihood. They had to figure out how to do it in a virtual space. And my prediction was that the gym is not dead. People will go back. People will miss the energy. of working out with other humans, seeing somebody across the room who like nods when they nail their deadlift, or just seeing other people who are gutting it out at the gym. And also that those spaces, whether it's a boutique studio or a gym, that they're a time for us away from sort of the distractions of the rest of our life. I have 3 kids and a dog and an awesome husband who works full time. So I don't know about you, but I do home workouts sometimes, but they are not the same. It is not the Liz me time focused session that I crave. Sometimes it's all I can do, and it's 100% better than nothing. So anyway, this has proven to be true. People are going back. I just saw an email, and I have not fact checked it, so I'm going to say that. But that the searches for gym memberships in 2022 were the highest they've ever been in history. So people are thinking about it, at least. I don't know if that, if they converted or exactly where that data was sourced from. But I go to a YMCA and I've seen the membership climb and the number of people there. What I am seeing is that many people, myself included, are working out from apps. So I think there's a mixing, and that this will continue, of using these digital platforms. The one I use is Ladder. Our friend Lauren Kansky, also an advisory board member, runs a program called Body and Bell that I love to follow. So I do that, and I'm always testing whatever workouts Women's Health is writing about. And so I'm working out off my phone, and I would say at least 50% of the people are doing that. Boutique fitness. So yes, I worked at SoulCycle. I worked at Soul at a time when it was scaling rapidly. We were opening multiple studios, sometimes in the same week. We were expanding internationally. For those who haven't been following the boutique industry carefully, suffice to say that the pandemic, that was already a difficult business model because it was diluting the number of spots, almost cannibalizing people within the same space. New York City, for example, when you go from 3 studios to 30, you're not necessarily going to fill 30 to max capacity. They started to, anyway, story for another day, but they could not afford, when people were in lockdown, to keep paying the rent on all those studios. So they massively scaled back, and many other studios have done the same. I personally think, and this is as somebody, an avid boutique fitness lover, I've gone to many boutique fitness classes. I don't think it is going to continue. I don't think we're going to see new brands open every other month or every month like we did pre-pandemic. I think it's a really hard space to get into right now. I think you will see even the players who are established in this space launching digital platforms and investing more in that. That, maybe a couple of brick and mortar locations at most will be their presence, physical presence, but that they'll really lean into the digital space. And that so people can, occasionally have their in-person workout, but then go to their local YMCA and, do a Y7 yoga class from there. Y7 actually just launched a digital platform I just saw last week. So we'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that people are moving more towards strength.
Yeah.
I've seen initially there was a lot of Pilates, and Pilates can be great for certain people. There was the boutique initially, from my perspective, was less hypertrophy. And I'm thinking about a very careful way to say this, which if you had asked me 30 episodes ago on this podcast, I would just come out and say something different. But right. I'm going to choose my words carefully. I believe that there's going to be a push towards more discomfort. And when I say more discomfort, I mean perhaps not quite the discomfort of CrossFit style metabolic conditioning with heavy weights, doing those type of things. But I believe that there's a need.
Yeah.
And that we are very sedentary. And I believe being sedentary in and of itself is a diseased model.
Yeah.
We're craving harder things. We're craving challenges. And that's where I think things are going to go.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And I think we're seeing that even in the stories that our readers are clicking on. I'm hoping, for all the reasons you said, because it's so damn good for us, to challenge ourselves and to be a little bit uncomfortable. That's where change happens. That's where muscle growth happens, and the cascade of healthy things that happen throughout your body from that. Hopefully with brands like Women's Health championing it, goodbye toning and sculpting, like love ya, if that's the word you want to use.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye. We're going to start calling it
Love
what it is and celebrating it. And so I think people are, I agree with you. We wouldn't be doing this if we thought everyone was resisting. I think people are curious, and that is a beautiful place to reach them, to make a change and take action and to do something a little different.
They're definitely more ready now than they've ever been.
Yeah.
I've been talking about protein and muscle for longer than I care to tell anybody. And 10 years ago, 5 years ago, nobody was ready.
Yeah, totally agree
If
with
I
you.
had come to you and said, Liz, I'd love to be a part of the board, you would have looked at me and you would have said, well, maybe, I don't know. You might have brushed me off and
We've been
revisited.
obsessed with you from the start.
Would have revisited. But now people are ready. People are ready to be stronger. They're ready to be more resilient. They're ready to have grit. They're ready to eat more protein. I'm going to say it. They're ready to eat more meat or whatever it is, rather than doing the 10-day bikini body fast, grapefruit fast, or cabbage patch, cabbage soup.
Yes, Cabbage Patch Diet.
A special thank you to one of the sponsors of our show, and that is First Form. Head on over to firstform.com/Dr. Lyon. Now listen, there are a handful of supplements that I believe should always be on board and in your sock drawer. And what do I mean by in your sock drawer? I mean the things that you always use and always have, like socks and underwear. Full Mega is one of those supplements. It is an omega-3 formulation that has ample amounts of EPA and DHA from fresh, cold water, wild-caught Icelandic mackerel, herring, anchovies, sardines, most of which you will never find me eating. But I do need these omega-3 fatty acids. It's pretty difficult to get if you are just eating food, regular food, and you're not eating large amounts of seafood. Why do you care about omegas? You care about them for brain function. There also may be benefit in muscle health. I think that we're going to start to see much more of that. Everybody should be taking a fish oil. I mean, obviously check with your physician, but for the majority of individuals, there are so many benefits, from cognitive benefits to mood benefits to, again, muscle health benefits. Full Mega is a great product. It's ultra concentrated. You can head on over to firstform.com/Dr. Lyon. I know that this is going to be very beneficial for you.
So we've loved you a long time, and you've worked with us for a long time. But I think you make a really great point, and we are thrilled that you accepted our offer to be
of course.
a Women's Health Advisory Board member. We're so proud to have you and your expertise and all of your experience and knowledge on our board. And you are absolutely filling a gap that we had in our advisory board. And I think you're right that we as a brand, me as a leader, I have just through my own personal experience reached a point where I'm like, this is crucial and important, and we need the best of the best educating our readers about it.
Where do you think that the nutrition space is going? You've seen a lot of transition, and not only just a lot of transition, you've also seen a lot of, I don't know if it's discussion or red tape. It's people are very sensitive to all things health and fitness, more so now than ever before.
Yes, I agree. It's such a hot button sensitive topic. And I would even argue that amongst all of them, that nutrition is the most.
Always? Has it always been like that?
I think yes, but we now can really see it because of social media, because everyone has a platform to talk about it or to comment on what experts and brands are saying, and non-experts and people who are spreading misinformation. I think it's because everybody eats. So everyone's kind of an expert on food. Not everybody works out. Not everybody is passionate about taking care of their mental health and meditation and all the other topics we explore. You eat every single day. So we all have opinions and thoughts about it.
You nailed it. You could go your whole life with never exercising.
Right.
you 100% of the time have to get nutrients,
Right. 100%.
right? Like,
Yeah.
gonna have to do it.
Yes. We, of course, have covered over the years all the various diets that come in and out of, fashion that are trending. Keto was really big for a while.
How long was it big for? It's still kind of big.
It is, but we've noticed less action in those stories. They're not clicked as much as they used to be. It's so fascinating to see these trends. Intermittent fasting is another big one.
Hot topic now or was?
I think it's still interesting to people, but it's come down. This is also seasonal, and it's so fascinating when, say a celebrity comes out and shares that they do intermittent fasting. There might be like a big bump and spike for a month while people are, all into it again. I think, and I'm not just saying this because this is the direction I'm going. I think there's more interest in macros. And I think if you had said 2 years ago or even maybe a year ago, the way I navigate my meals throughout the day is I'm really, I'm counting my macros. I'm looking to get X amount of protein, X amount of carbohydrates, X amount of fat, which works for me and my body and my activity level. A lot of people I think would be like, wait, what? What? A macro is what? And now they're still saying that, but a lot of people know, or they're trying to figure out what is the right ratio for me. And the one I want them to really think about, which I think is happening more and more, and we, again, are trying to really champion this in women's health. We just did a big investigative feature about it, is protein. Gosh, Gabrielle, I have to say, like, I have written stories about protein, like in my 20s. I talked to the best experts. What fascinates me, it's like the human mind and experience is like, when are you going to be ready to hear it? When is it going to click? Because I knew all about protein and its benefits. And yet I still was like, I'm going to choose my words carefully. When I would go out to eat with my husband, like, oh, the vegetarian option, that must be the best nutritionally. Like, oh, you're going to get
the healthiest one.
That must be the healthiest one. Oh, I see there's a steak on the menu or chicken, but like, that's a lot of meat. That's really heavy. That's not for me. Even though I knew better. And it's recently, over the past 2 years and talking to you and talking to Lauren Kansky and experimenting with my own body, that I'm like, oh, I finally woke up and was like, okay, why don't you try and do what all the experts say? Why don't you try and get enough protein? Why don't you try to get the amount that's recommended for you, which for me is about 115 to 125 grams a day. And once I really locked that up and did it, everything changed. My energy, my like evenness throughout the day. And yes, my body changed too, which is
jacked.
like,
you're pretty ripped and jacked. Yeah.
Which is like fun to see and very motivating. But it truly isn't just about that. It was like I was sleeping better. I felt clearer throughout the day. And I know there's all sorts of magic happening in my body because I'm fueling it properly. I'm nourishing it, with the protein that it needs to thrive. So speaking of missions I'm on, this is one I'm on my personal Instagram. I mean, my friends like roll their eyes when I walked into a party on Christmas Day and they were like, I don't know if we have enough protein for you. We got a lot of like carbs, and it's funny. And I still live my life, and it's not like I eat carbs, and I hang on your every word about carbs and how to implement them into your day and to fuel your workouts and be strategic about them. And I still eat cookies, and I live my life. But am I super duper focused on my protein now and better for it? Yes and yes.
Why do you think it is taken so long for the general public to kind of catch up to all that?
I know, and I should say, like, myself included, I think there's a fear a little bit, especially of, a trend in general has been eating plant-based. I think there's been a narrative out there that meat is bad, whether it's for the environment or for your body. And you've seen a lot of like faux meats, fake meats enter the market and sort of glorified and like put a big blue halo, health halo around them. And I think, unfortunately, the media has probably like helped tell that story. Like we've written about it too. Yeah. And it sounds almost like a magic bullet, which I think a lot of people want when you want to change your life, get healthier, lose weight. The easy fix is what so many people are desperate for. And when you reach people in that place of like weakness and like, I don't want to be dramatic, but
no, it's a place of vulnerability.
If
they're not
vulnerability,
well.
that's the word.
Yeah.
And you swoop in and say, this is the answer. I think people latch on to that. And I mean, the irony is that it's not like eating animal-based protein products is hard. It's like so easy to like make scrambled eggs in the morning or, grill yourself some chicken or fish or steak at night. And I want to be like crystal clear that I love eating plant-based. I love vegetables, and they are so important to a healthy diet.
Exactly.
The minerals, the antioxidants, the vitamins. It's not like I'm anti any of those. And I'm so down for, beans and lentils and other sources of plant-based protein. For me personally, in my busy life and with the amount of calories that I need to be healthy and fit and to have a healthy, fit weight, I turn to animal products, animal-based protein.
Right. And it's really interesting. You touched on a very important point. The discussion seems as if it has to be either or.
Yeah.
And you've never said that.
No.
And that's not what it has to be. You can be protein forward. You can have high quality nutrient dense foods and have plants.
Yeah.
It's not this idea of removing one or the other. And for whatever reason, again, this narrative of elimination of whole foods groups can be very detrimental, especially as we get older.
Yes, I completely agree. And again, it's just like a very sensitive topic for people. So that is one of the great challenges and opportunities in my role is, we're out to reach as many women as possible and to open their eyes to things that would make them and their lives fuller, healthier, happier, whatever that means for them. And in order to reach them, again, you have to be thoughtful and careful about the messaging, the visuals, the words that you use. And, I think I'm seeing that more women are interested in it and that there's like an illumination happening. I do think we are in that zone right now, which is awesome to see. But it must be fascinating for you because you're like so before your time talking about this. Like nothing has changed in your message or your research or how you're educating.
One thing, actually, there's one thing. And this has changed because I needed to get clearer on why I was recommending it.
Yeah.
I typically recommend, or have in the past always recommended, an even protein distribution. Just because it's so easy for people to not even worry about it, not think about or overcomplicate something. And from a metabolic standpoint, really the first and the last meal are the most important. And that middle meal, if it has 20 grams of protein or not, it's fine.
Yeah, I believe I heard you on another podcast talking about that. It was really interesting. And would you say the first meal of the day is the most important?
First
after
and
you've
last.
Fasted overnight?
Absolutely.
And the last. Okay.
The first and last. If you nail that first and last meal, I think that you have...
Even if you're not getting the overall... So if I'm aiming for 125 in a day.
Great question.
But I get 50 in the morning and 50 at night, I'm not getting quite there.
I think that 50 in the morning, 50 at night, I think that you're going to need a little more protein.
Yeah.
Especially for your activity level.
Yeah.
But does it have to be evenly distributed of 40, 40, 40? No, but definitely making sure that first and last meal are optimized.
Good. Well, I'm happy to say that I'm following the doctor's orders.
You're nailing it. In terms of I don't want to say life hacks, but there's a lot of cold plunges, a lot of, which my husband's a Navy SEAL, was a Navy SEAL. He laughs about it. He's like, you're never going to see me in one of those. But there's a lot of more wearable type stuff
yes.
and sauna type stuff. What is the next trend, do you think, that we are not aware of?
The next one that we're not aware of. Well, why don't I answer that by saying something I'd like to see, which
great.
sort of builds upon some of the trends you mentioned. Wearables and tracking is just getting bigger and bigger. I'm obviously wearing the Apple Watch Ultra. I'm obsessed with it. I've been wearing this since it launched like 8 years ago. I've tried Whoop. I've tried the Oura Ring, Fitbits, Garmin's, all of them. One that I recently tried over the summer was the continuous glucose monitor by Levels, which is, for those who don't know, number one, I'll say I am not diabetic. It was just out of curiosity for what was happening with my insulin levels throughout the day. My glucose levels throughout the day. And it was very eye-opening for me and actually changed some of my behavior.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Which we want to hear about that.
Well, okay, I can go into that. But I stopped wearing it. I think there's a point at which you can sort of cross the line into obsession and living by the numbers and the data. And I even was doing this with the Oura Ring. It's just I think it's a Liz thing. I have to be curious about the data, but like sort of let it be, let it, teach me some lessons, but not go too far with it because, like, for example, when I was tracking my sleep, maybe I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I feel great. I'm ready to get after my day and my workout. And then I open up my app to see how my sleep went. And it wasn't, it was like, whoa.
You're like, oh my God, got to skip the workout.
Like redlining and REM and this and that. And then suddenly my mindset and mood has shifted. And it's because of a number, So I think there are pros and cons to tracking ourselves and looking at what's happening in our bodies all the time. But again, so the glucose monitor, very cool. What I think would be awesome is if you could track your hormones using some sort of wearable. And you and I have talked about hormone levels. Yep. Thanks for letting me share TMI about my personal life. But
anytime,
things I love about you and that we can just text. But I think, so many women are lacking insight and information to their hormone levels and what's happening, with their monthly cycle even, and then as they enter perimenopause and then menopause. And actually, both of those chapters of life, perimenopause and menopause, are things that women's health has explored really in depth and that we are, again, like really shining a spotlight on. And, there's been so much stigma or like this like quiet whispery thing that no one talks about. And it's like a big, huge deal that happens to every woman. So like, let's talk about it. Let's, we've, thank goodness, reached a point where we talk about getting pregnant, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum. Here we are, finally, thank God, talking about.
Really? Was that a big deal in the past?
Talking about menopause?
No, and pregnancy. Was that?
No. Okay. I think, for many years, that's been kosher to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yes. For sure.
And now I think it's very open to talk about, or it's not quite there, but it's becoming there.
And it needs to be.
And, speaking of trends, you can see the launches of so many brands in this space who want to help and support women, whether it's trackers or apps with advice or, beauty and feminine products to support them. So I think the climate is exactly right. And now we just need a tech brand to come in and to do that. But do you know what speaking of this, I was looking at some of the product launches at the CES show, which is happening right now.
What's that? The CES?
It is consumer. It's a tech show.
Okay,
it's the huge. Cool. It's like all the big tech companies and brands that have some sort of product to launch in the tech space go there, and a lot of brands send editors there. We did not, but we're like watching from afar to see what's happening, including me, and I believe it is Withings, the company that makes the scale.
I'm not familiar, yeah.
They make very like smart scales that talk to an app, and like, you know, they've
cool.
got a formula for calculating body fat. Not sure how accurate that is.
What about muscle mass?
I don't think yet. I know. They debuted a product which has not been FDA approved yet, but it basically sits in the toilet and monitors your urine. And I think it's for something, what is it, like pregnancy and hormone levels, you know, so you can see where you are in your cycle, which is so rad. But like, imagine if you could hook your patients up with that. And because I don't know all the things you can test using urine, and sorry if this is, you know, well, whatever. We're talking about health. So it's all, let's put it all out there. Anyway, I just think the ability to see what's happening in your body without having to go to a doctor, to a lab, and have a needle and like go through insurance. And not that there's anything wrong with any of that. It just takes work. And I think that threshold is actually meaning that we're leaving a lot of people who could benefit from that information and from then, you know, consulting with an expert like you or another doctor who understands it and can give them some lifestyle recommendations or, you know, in some cases, medication if necessary. I think it would just open up a huge population to some like really massive health changes they could make.
I bet you that does happen. It's kind of like the Jetsons, the scan.
Yeah.
I'm sure that eventually those
like, what if my watch could tell me what day of my cycle I'm on right now?
I bet you it's going to be able to tell you a lot more than that.
What else do you think?
I think it's going to, I don't know yet, but I think it's going to be able to ultimately be a full catalog.
Yeah.
Of the blood work that we are getting right now. Well, I think we're going to look back in 10 years and we're going to say what we've been doing is archaic.
Yeah. That's
cool
amazing.
And
it's
scary all at the same time.
Right.
But
it, like, just like I was saying with, I guess, the more rudimentary, as we'll call them in 10 years, things like my sleep tracker. So many benefits for me having access to that information, and also some opportunities for, you know, it's not all good. So you really have to be careful and
100%
make sure people understand the pros and the cons.
Yeah. Can you imagine you have to go perform? Because I still think that you and I need to do some physical challenge together.
I agree. We still haven't picked that.
So we're putting it out there now. If you guys have any ideas, please DM us. We're looking for a, you know, I was thinking like jujitsu challenge, something where we can be competitive and be really cool. Yeah, so hopefully someone will.
This is one of the things I'm working on in 2023 is I want to put my mind to something like a challenge like that. You know, I've got little mini ones, like I'm working on my deadlift and some more intervals, but I would love to do that with you.
I think we're gonna pick it, and it's gonna be awesome.
Awesome.
A very gracious thank you to Inside Tracker for sponsoring this episode of the show. That's inside, like inside your body, insidetracker.com/Dr. Lyon. Inside Tracker allows you to see what is going on within your body, hence the name. You can look at what your hormone status is, what your inflammation status is, certain micronutrients, things that are extremely valuable to understand the way in which you're aging, where you can improve. Again, you always have to understand what's going on inside and under the hood of your own body. You might feel great and things take time to emerge. So really being on top of the potentiality of not feeling so great. If you have not gotten your blood drawn and you are one of those people that are so super busy that you have not done it yet, you should. And I typically recommend people do it on a regular cadence to see what is going on and what you can improve, making sure that your hormone status is optimized, making sure that your vitamin D is optimized, making sure that your inflammatory markers are low and your thyroid is functioning. These are all really critical things. Only way to know is to test. So head on over to insidetracker.com/Dr. Lyon. You can get 20% off for a limited time only. Head on over to insidetracker.com/Dr. Lyon for 20% off the entire store.
In terms of, now this may be a sensitive subject, so I can appreciate if you don't want to answer this.
Okay.
But I am so curious as to how the women's health and just how media in general has navigated this. And this is, it's more of the body positivity and health at any size and the things of that nature, we're just seeing a lot of change in the space that again, I don't think existed. And I'm just curious as to what your perspective is. How has women's health thought about it and managed that?
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid to get into this. I think it's a really important topic. And I know I've said this a few times, so it's maybe tiresome at this point, but it is so crucial to me. So I'll start by saying words really matter and visuals really matter. So when we're thinking about how women's health approaches content like that and any content in this space, we are always thinking about inclusivity, showing different abled bodies, showing different sizes, backgrounds, ethnicities. You can even see this. We do Instagram live workouts every single week, 2 to 3, and you'll see trainers from all different backgrounds, all different sizes, all different teaching styles. It really is like a community. Like everyone is welcome at Women's Health. I would add to that I think perhaps maybe some would think this is, shocking or different in this day and age where, yes, it is very much about body positivity. We're body positive at Women's Health. Like, we love our bodies. We're so proud and want women to be proud of their bodies. But we also want to acknowledge that women shouldn't feel ashamed if they think they would be healthier and happier if they went to the gym more or ate more healthfully or lost 5 pounds and felt better in their jeans. So I think, unfortunately, the pendulum has sort of swung so far in the direction of celebrating bodies of any type, which, again, to be very clear, I am 1,000% on board with. But that means celebrating people wherever they are on their journey. And so they might be in a different place. And we are there for that woman too. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we don't want anybody to feel judged for wanting to make changes. If being leaner and increasing your muscle mass is important to you, we think that's awesome. And we have a lot of tools and a lot of mental and emotional tools to help you change your lifestyle so you can reach those goals. And that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think it's great because, again, having a transparent conversation is that, there's this push about, a lot of things, whether it's be toned or just go plant-based or be okay. It's healthy to be, have a lot of extra weight, all of these things. That we really have to think about, well, is it healthier, right? And let's say people want to do, have a change for themselves, maybe be fitter or do any of those things. So we have to have the open conversation, right? It's okay to be super fit and want to be jacked and tan. There's no problem with that. Right. And that doesn't mean that it's body shaming anybody else or that if you want to lose weight, which, by the way, a healthy body composition is what is going to help improve longevity.
Right.
And functional capacity and brain function, all the other things. So, it did answer the question. And I love that women's health is very much about the idea of body positivity, but not what you're saying is you can be great however you want to be.
Yeah.
And
I just one little to add on to that. I also personally prefer a word that we used a couple years ago in our bodies issue, where we celebrate women nude and beautiful art, which was body neutrality. For some reason, that personally really resonates with me. This idea that you have to feel awesome and amazing and like big smile every time you look in a mirror, I don't think that's really fair to us, because I don't think that's most women's experience. That sometimes you're going to wake up and feel sort of lethargic and less motivated. And then maybe by lunchtime,
your discipline's going to kick in.
You did your workout and you had the breakfast that makes you feel powered up and you're ready to go into your meeting. And I think that, our perspective, our energy, our mindset changes throughout the day. What is interesting to me, and perhaps, kind of tacking back on to trends that I'm seeing and that Women's Health tries to put forward is there are so many tools to help you when you're kind of in the blah side. And I'll just say it, like, I've been there. I felt that way on Tuesday. It was my first day back after being on holiday. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why don't I feel rejuvenated and like ready to get after it? And I use tools like cold plunging, exposing myself to sunlight, turning on music that lights me up, making sure I've had enough caffeine, all sorts. There are so many tools that we can use to help get us out of that mindset if it's uncomfortable to sit in it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I think it's okay to sometimes not feel okay. Yeah. I don't think you have to walk around being like, I love my body and feel so good about it today, every second of every day. What do you think?
I think that's fair enough. Yeah. And I also think that we owe it to ourselves to always be the best version of ourselves, whatever that is in the moment. And because we all trained together and you didn't feel like training and you went in the gym and you crushed it and you didn't feel like it. And we could have said, okay, we're going to just like go with that feeling. I think that feelings aren't facts and that we execute off of our plan in place and we rely on our discipline rather above anything else. And I also think that we do have a responsibility to ourselves and the people we love and the greatness that we have the potential to put out into the world by being the best version of ourselves.
I love you so much. I wanted to say, I wish I'd recorded that, but we did record it. So I'm going to hang on to so many of those things that you said. Yes, I often tell myself on days I'm not feeling it at the gym. And I have to say, just again to put it out there, sometimes it's like related, hormones or where you are. Not to be.
You also have 3. How old are your kids?
I have 11-year-old boy-girl twins, a 7-year-old boy, and I have to say Willa, my 2-year-old Bernese Mountain Dog puppy, is like our 4th child. Yeah, we got a lot going on at home. I have people that I do need to show up for and be my best self for, including all the awesome editors at Women's Health. But what I think about when I hit the gym and it's very much for me, I have learned this over time, it is 1,000% what you said. It's about discipline. This is what I do. I am a person who works out. I feel better after I work out. I go to the gym when it opens at 6 a.m. That is Liz in the morning. Non-negotiable. Even when I don't want to. Even when I'm not feeling it.
Especially when you're not
Especially. That's probably when I need it the most, when you don't want to. And I tell myself on those days, you give 100% of whatever you got. Maybe it's like 80% of what I gave yesterday, if you really you calculated the volume or the effort. But you give 100% of whatever you have to give that day. And that's helped me a lot. And I also have to say, I have never, I will tell myself, I use something called the 4-minute rule where I'm like, okay, just start the workout. If you really are just not feeling it, after 4 minutes, you can stop and go home.
Have you ever done that?
I have never once not continued. And there always comes a point, I posted about this the other day. I was doing one of Lauren's workouts. I think it was like 48 minutes long. And it was on, I distinctly remember because 7 is my lucky number.
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never talked about that. On minute 37, I had this like cascade of like energy, emotion change where I was just like, I'm in the zone. I feel awesome. This is so fun. I feel strong. I feel empowered. And maybe it's not always that tangible, but there's always a point in the workout where something shifts and like, my shoulders are back. I've got a confidence and an energy. I really, truly believe that it's, for me, I mean, yes, there are all sorts of health benefits and all the things that happen in your body, longevity promoting benefits of building muscle. For me, it's not about fitness. It's what I learned there and like how I apply it to the rest of my life. It is such a like microcosm of how I can approach my life. And it feels so damn good. But I do remember that workout with Lauren and Abby. And And it was one of those days. It sounds like I'm never feeling it. The truth is, I love training.
You are built to last. You
I
are
was just
built
training
to last.
with Eb, who's the executive
I saw that.
fitness director at Men's Health. And
I was not invited to this.
I know, you got to come next time. And it was I was like, I never want this to be over. I could train for hours a day, but I do not obviously have time to do that. But where I'm going with this is, I think there's something really special about sweating with friends and the energy that builds between people. And I think this is one of the great benefits of classes. I don't go to too many boutique fitness classes these days. I go to hot yoga, and I love the energy there and finding a new song. And I love it when the instructor like adjusts me, and I'm just like, never leave, keep adjusting. But when we get together and lift heavy, swing kettlebells, pick up barbells, we're like literally rooting each other on. And just by being there, showing up for each other, we're rooting each other on. And I think it unlocks new possibility in people. And I also believe, and I know there is science to support this, that the social connection that builds between people when they do physical activity together.
It's
camaraderie. And it's way more powerful than going out and grabbing a coffee. Or
100%.
I do not drink, but I know a lot of people go out for drinks to bond, and like, great, all wonderful things. Please be social and build connection. But like, I want everybody to try doing it over a sweat. It changes everything.
Agree. And nothing is actually more fun.
Yeah.
So as editor-in-chief, you do have just I can't even imagine the amount of responsibility. And do you feel it? Do you ever sit back and reflect and go, holy shit, this is major. I mean, it is a major, major role in the way in which every 40 million women or so and beyond, because they tell their friends about this thing, think about health and wellness.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a moment where you were just like, oh man, do-over, or how am I managing this, or just rise to the occasion and no big deal?
Oh, I love this question. It's reminding me that I probably should pause and reflect on that more often. Because the truth is, although I try to project the like gliding duck on a lake, I am like furiously pedaling underwater at all times. And that doesn't leave much space to sit back and be like, holy shit, this is major. But I think you said something that struck me. You asked if I ever want to do over or think about that. And we don't get do-overs in life. But we can start over at any time and begin again. And so I'll admit that I haven't done it perfectly, and that there are, things I wish I'd done a little differently along the way. But what I love so much and feel so grateful for is that I get to start over and begin again every single day. And that really excites me, that possibility, that opportunity to make a difference and an impact. And you're right, I am having a moment right now where it's like, this is a huge brand that so many people depend on and turn to. And I'm so proud of how we do it, and that we rely on science and the best experts as the foundation to every single story we tell, and that we are choosing stories that can really make a positive difference in women's lives. So yeah, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, I think we're all proud of you.
Aww.
And I was so excited to have you on again because of you, what you represent, and how you are and how you're moving through this world, and all the great positive work. You are a human that is making the world better. And I don't even know if you understand and can appreciate the magnitude of what you're doing and how you're holding it and showing up, and you are so graceful.
Oh,
so
well, that means a lot.
Oh.
That is incredibly kind. I really appreciate that. And, it kind of blows my mind to hear, and you're reminding me.
Yeah.
how big it is and how many people are watching what we do. And it's just, as I said, so much passion for this brand since the day I first saw it on the newsstand. So I don't take it lightly what I get to do every day.
You're always so humble. You're always so humble, mission driven, and it is always about your team. You've mentioned your team here nearly every statement about how great the brand is. And I think it says a lot about a leader. You're not leading the I space. It's really we, the brand. And that's one of the reasons I was just so excited to have you on. You know, do you think that there is, your biggest strength? Just curious as to what you think your biggest strength is.
I think my superpower is resilience. I am really proud that even, and I mean this both physically and sort of metaphorically in my professional and personal life, that even when I trip or fall or make a mistake, I get back up and I get back up quickly. I don't stay down. And, sometimes that's really hard and embarrassing. And you just kind of want to quit and pretend it didn't happen and walk away and throw in the towel. But I pretty much never do. So I think that's my biggest strength.
Incredible. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
For someone who's looking up to you now, which I know that there are so many young women who were Liz, in the beginning of their career, what is the one piece of advice that you would leave that young woman?
I would say roll up your sleeves. That all the grunt work, all the extraneous things that come with any job are so important and will make you better and better as you rise the ranks and become a leader. And to not be afraid to get dirty and get into it. And that will also mean asking for help and learning things that you think you should already know and staying curious. But roll up your sleeves and really dive in. Don't do it half-assed. Don't think you're too good for any task or responsibility. It all counts. It's all important. It all makes you better.
Liz Plosser, editor-in-chief of Women's Health Magazine. You're such a unicorn. I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Gabrielle. It was so fun to talk to you.